Welcome back everybody to the channel and welcome to this video, and today we shall be looking at the Imperial Armor Compendium, more specifically the Tyranid, the very small Tyranid section at the back there of the Imperial Armor Compendium. I got this book yesterday through the post, and yeah, I was not going to let this thing slide by without me at least talking about the Tyranid editions in the back of this. The book itself it's a bit of a thick book. I mean, as in comparison to like the rulebook, it's almost as thick as the actual 40k rulebook itself, but then again, this does contain every single Forge World unit that are currently for sale right now, and I think maybe some that have since gone the way of the dodo. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it's a big old meaty book, and obviously it's got the code in there at the back for the 40k app if you are still inclined to arse around with that thing, which I am not. This thing, guys, I mean, I can't imagine anybody wanting this thing for the full totality of its contents. I mean, there's a lot in here. Ooh, it's got that lovely new book smell. Obviously, it's got things in there for the new chapters, or the chapters of renown: the Minotaurs, Red Scorpions, Blood Ravens, Astral Claws, Carcadons. But yeah, I can't imagine anyone using this book up to 100% of its contents. So I'd say, guys out there, if you're thinking about getting this book for your Forge World models, see if you can go quids in with a few of your mates or some like hobby groups, and then obviously, you know, share it, because I play Tyranids. I mean, there's no Gene Steel Core Forge World models yet, so I'm going to be using, what, 5% of this book, if that. The rest of it is just going to be there for me to idly flick through and go, oh, that's nice, oh, that's cool. So it's as a purchase price, it's not really worth it. So I'd say if you can go and share the cost with a few of your mates or a few of your gaming friends, then definitely do that, because otherwise you're just going to get a lot of stuff that ain't relevant to you, unless, you know, you flick through this and you think to yourself, ooh, some of this stuff looks so good, I think I'll buy some, and then obviously then you've got the rules for it. But yeah, so the Tyranid section, let me just flick this open here. I actually did try and record like a live sort of video of me going through the book, but as a lot of people out there who are not in the UK may not know, UK has gone to like a second like full lockdown now. Well, England has, at least for a month. So no travel, well, no hanging out with friends or any of that stuff, so I can't get any of the good recording equipment off Chris, so I'd have to use my phone, and the quality was just crap. So basically what I've just decided to do is just take some screenshots and just talk over the screenshots. It's pretty simple like that. Yeah, the Tyranid section is, I'd say, from where Tyranids were when 8th edition came out at the beginning, was it 9th now we're on? I can't even remember. But the new edition came out, Tyranids were meh, not in a great place in the Forge World book. Right, before I go any further, I want to say I'm not a meta player. I'm not a competitive player, I'm not a meta player, I don't min-max, I don't do any of that stuff. I would, listen, if competitive players out there, please tell me if I'm speaking out my arse, because I don't mean to like go, you know, arsing around your wheelhouses. You guys may have different views on the units in this book as regards to competitive play. I'm just looking at this from sort of like, I like to think a middle of the road kind of view. You know, you look at things from a little bit from a rules perspective, and then obviously you're looking at it from the model, you know, how good the model looks and how it feels on our tabletop. So very middle of the road kind of view. That's why I'm trying to want to get across there. But yeah, Tyranids, I'd like to think that they have improved going through this book. But yeah, we'll look at things now. So obviously you've got your Tyranid data sheets there, so you've got your high fleet keywords, your war gear and your abilities. You don't keep the war gear in this book for the majority of the things, just flicking through like different armies and different unit listings. I think you're going to have to use this book in conjunction with your codexes, so that's an obvious one. So starting at the top with the HQ section, you've got your Melanthrope. A Melanthrope, I know, was at one point a mainstay in like most competitive Tyranid armies, because it was cheap, it gave shrouding before obviously the became capped at -1 or negative or +1 to hit, and it was you could hide it. It was a character, so it was really, really good. It's still a character. It's still that Synapse, it's still the HQ slot, and at 8 power, I think it rocks in at 150 points. That's a good thing about this book, that the points are right at the back there, so there's no arsing around with calculations. So yeah, 150 points. So it's on the pricey side for HQ slot, but it's a character, Synapse, so you've got that sort of like backfield anchor there. As you can see from the stat line there, movement 5, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 9, attacks 4, leadership 9, and a 5+ save. The grasping tail, it's nothing to write home about. I mean, it gives it strength 5, minus 1 AP, 2 damage. This thing doesn't want to be in combat. It doesn't, regardless of that prey adaptation rule, which we'll go over in a second, this thing, it doesn't want to be in close combat. Not really, not unless you can't help it. So we've got your enhanced toxic miasma. At the end of the fight phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit with engagement range instead of model. On a 4+, it's always d3 mortal wounds. So that's nice. So if something is unfortunate enough to get close enough to the Melanthrope, anything with engagement range, on a 4+, you're going to get d3 mortal wounds for just hanging around near the Melanthrope, because obviously it's shrouded in poison. The Shrouding Spores. Now this has been buffed because it was 3 inches last time, I believe. While a friendly high fleet unit that is not Titanic is within 6 of this model, each time a ranged attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from the attacker's hit roll. So there you go. That's the reason why you bought the Melanthrope. Well, one of the reasons you bought the Melanthrope in the first place. It's got better. It's now a 6-inch aura rather than just a 3-inch aura. So it's still giving that lovely -1 to hit for your Gribblies in the backfield. Because for me, I'd say that's where the Melanthrope is best at, being sort of like a backfield Synapse anchor for your gun battery, your gun beasts like your Exocrine, your Biovores, that kind of thing. Because, right, this is the rule here that's... I've only ever seen this rule work once in my entire gaming career. I've never seen it go off more than once, and that was in 7th. Basically, in 7th edition, prey adaptation, if you killed something with a Melanthrope, it would give, or something died near a Melanthrope, it would give your entire army preferred enemy, which was amazing if you could get it off. But now they've changed it, so prey adaptation now is, if an enemy model is destroyed within 3 inches of this model, then at the end of that phase, this model gains the following ability until the end of the battle. Prey adaptation aura. When a friendly high fleet unit is within 6 of this model, each time the model in that unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. So it gives all models within 6 inches re-rolling once to wound, which is good. It's really good, but like I said, if things are dying near the Melanthrope to proc this, then you're in trouble, because Melanthrope does not want to be in combat. It wants to be sitting at the back, in my opinion, sitting at the back, guarding or giving Synapse and Shrouding to your big gun Gribblies, the things that are like pumping out the damage, like your Exocrines, your Biovores, the things that do the work. I mean, you could... the thing is, with a 5-inch move, it's not fast enough to keep up with the Gribblies that want to run forward and chop things up, because they tend to move really fast, and this thing's not going to be able to keep up with them. Even if you're cracking, the advancing is still going to be farther than you, so it's too slow for that, so it's definitely a defensive sort of monster. The model itself, I've got one. It's one of the first, it is the first Forge Wheel Tyranid model I got, and it's a beautiful model. I didn't do it justice when I was painting it up, but if you look on the underside of it, you can see where the sort of the fleshy sacs are hanging from its undercarriage. You can see like a face in there, like some poor bastard's been like absorbed into it or digested or partially being digested. It's a really lovely model, one that I really need to get more of them. I personally think that the Melanthrope will make a transition from Forge World to regular Games Workshop stock at some point, because it's just so popular. I reckon GW will take it from Forge World and adopt it into the regular Tyranid range, which I hope they do, because as good as the Forge World model is, and it's a beautiful model, I reckon GW can do some very tasty things if they obviously made it more mainstream, particularly in regards to the base, because basing that thing and getting it to stand up so it's looking like it's floating is a fucking bastard. Right, so the Melanthrope, it is. I think it's still pretty good as like a defensive unit. 8 power, 140 odd points. Yeah, you can do worse. The Meiotic Spores. Now these things were very good, I thought, from a narrative point of view. Basically, what they were cluster spore mines. So the idea was that these things would float down before the first battle round begun. or began, rather. So they didn't count towards your reserves. And then you'd have them on an objective or just annoying the fuck out of your enemy. They're not hard because they're spore mines. I mean, a well-aimed fart could probably kill one of these. But the idea was if you shot them, they'd blow up and then they'd create little spore mines. So obviously the problem would sort of the problem would sort of like double itself, which I thought was really fun and really just really cool theme, like a cluster bomb spore mine that your opponent would have to deal with because they're just annoying and they were cheap. So they were like a cheap annoyance that you could just coat an objective with or coat an area that you didn't want deep striking in. They're quite fun. So now as they stand, the 3 power, 20 points per model. So a minimum squad of these is going to be 60 points. And that's too much. That's too much. For 60 points, you could invest that somewhere else that's not just going to be, let's face it, just an annoyance for your enemy. Unless you want to really coat the battlefield in these things, and I can't see that. The models themselves, again, beautiful models. I've got them. A bit of a pain in the arse to balance, so you're gonna have to do some like shenanigans with weights on your bases, or try and heat them up to bend them so they're not leaning forward so much. But apart from that, they are nice models as well. I can remember the resin chunk at the bottom of the bases was a massive thick wad of resin, so you had to hack these things out of the actual casings. But apart from that, they are lovely. Movement 3. The mines, weapon skill, ballistic skill, they got any. Strength 1, toughness 2, wounds 2, attacks 1. So they are twice as hard as a normal spore mine, which makes them what? Twice as hard as not very hard at all. That's the thing. You got float down, which is basically your deep strike, more than 9 inches away from any models. Floating death, if they do blow up within 3 inches, basically, I think he used to roll for each enemy unit that they blew up near to do the damage, but now it's just within 3 inches it blows up. On a 1 it does nothing, on a 2 to 3 it does D3 mortal wounds, on a 4+ it does straight 3 mortal wounds, which is nice, but again I would have preferred the cluster mine. Living bombs, myotic spores automatically pass morale tests, blah blah blah, don't count towards any objectives or victory conditions as normal spore mines do. Yeah, these things, they've lost their fun element for me now they've stopped being cluster mines. And for what they are, I just include regular spore mines. If you wanted to go down the spore mine route, just include regular spore mines. I think they're like 10 points a pop. I couldn't tell you, like double checking my Tyranid codex. So they're cheaper and they're just as annoying. So magic spores look good, probably not very worth it to add into your list. Sky Slasher Swarms. Now, I don't know why these things exist. Tyranid Rippers are a mainstay, again, I believe, well, they used to be, in most competitive Tyranid armies because they were troops. They had a very low profile, which means they could hide quite easily behind terrain, be obscured, so you couldn't see them. Unless you bought the 400 ones, which are slightly bigger. But still, again, I've got them and they are quite nice. And they could deep strike. So obviously you could deep strike onto an objective, hide there, and your opponent would just basically be a pain in your arse for your opponent to deal with because they were so hard to shoot, because obviously they were quite small. Sky Slasher Swarms, they're a fast attack choice, so they've lost that troop sort of object secured role. And because they're on flying, they're sort of flying. I mean, I don't know how they would be based, but I suppose you could do like shenanigans where you could still put them quite low to the ground. But they've increased their sort of, if you did them like the way they're depicted on the Forge World website, they've lost their low profile and their troops. Fair enough, they can move 12 inches like it says here, but why would you want these in a fast attack slot? I mean, your fast attack slot, you've got your Raveners, you've got your Gargoyles, you've got your Mines, you've got your Forge World, units, the Macaron, Magic Spores, Sky Slasher Swarms. These things, as well as the Magic Spores, why would you have them? I mean, they're as soft as Rippers. They just move a little bit faster, but regular Rippers can deep strike anyway, and they're troops. So, I mean, I don't know how nice these models look. I haven't got any, so they could look really nice and be really thematic. But I can't see people wanting these. If I would have rather GW retired Sky Slasher Swarms, retired the Ripper, Flying Ripper, and had the flying Tyranid warrior. I would have rather that than it being the case in the Tyranid warrior that could fly going the way of the dodo, the shrikes. But it is what it is, Scarcity Swarms. If you love rippers, it's another flavour of ripper for you, if you fancy it. Now, this is what I wanted to look forward to, or what I was looking forward to, rather, for the entirety of waiting for this book. The Dimmacharon. I love the Dimmacharon model. It is, I think it's the crown jewel of my Tyranid collection so far. Probably not the best painted of my Tyranids, but he's just such a great model. He's easily taller than a Morlock, double the size of Swarmlord. Big, imposing, mean looking, that exposed chest cavity that looking like it wants to try and devour things. It's just, the thing is like, it's Tyranid. It's Tyranid to the core, and it's amazing. In 7th edition, it was a murder machine. Then, obviously, in 8th edition, it wasn't so much a murder machine. But now, I think it's back. I think this thing's going to find its way into... I hope it does. It's going to find its way into my list, because I'm going to want to play this thing all the time. And at 12 power for a fast attack slot, this guy's going to be rocking in at 230 points on the nose. So he's pricey, but let's go through his data sheet. So he's got a tier 18 profile, but his top profile is movement 12, so he's fast. Weapon skill 3 plus skill 3, so he's better than the average Tyranid. Strength 7, toughness 7, so already he's tougher than he was in the last iteration. Wounds 18, more wounds, great. Attack 6, less attacks. Leadership 8, 3 plus save. Massive scything sickle talons. Strength plus 1, so these guys are going to be rocking at strength 8. Minus 3 AP, which is standard for all big Tyranid weapons. D3 plus 3 damage, so minimum of 4, maximum of 6. And each time attack's made with this weapon, you can reroll the hit roll. That, right there, is 100% better than where he was the last time around. I think it was like D3 damage, and like on a 6, he did like more, exploded more damage, well flat. Minimum 4, maximum 6. Strength 8, yeah, I'd take that. This thing is going to cleave its way through heavy infantry and your light armored vehicles. Strength 8 though, don't go after your toughness 8 models, because I'd say you just haven't got the weight of attacks there. 6 attacks, you're not going to be doing the business unless you've got more than one of these things, and I doubt you will have at 240 odd points. Scything tail, so strength user, so 7 minus 3 AP, flat 2 damage, which is fair enough. And each time the bear fires, it makes 1 additional attack with this weapon. So it's a nice bonus attack. So he's got 7 attacks, 6 with his regular sickle talons, and 1 with this scything tail. So far, I think this guy's stat line is solid. Bit pricey for 240 points. I mean, I think he was around about 200 on the nose last time I checked. But yeah, those weapons and that stat line is solid. Now it gets better. Leaper Killer. This model has a 5-up invul save. So straight away, he's 5-up invul save, fantastic. Built-in invul, brilliant. In addition, each time this model makes a normal move, advances, falls back, or makes a charge move, until the move is finished, it can move horizontally and vertically through models and terrain features. So it can move through terrain, through models. It can charge through terrain, through models. It can fall back through terrain and through models. That is absolutely amazing. Basically, it's treating like stuff ain't there. So it's not, because it says moves through. So it doesn't have to measure verticality. It can just go straight through things like it wasn't there. Just imagine this thing just taking a massive... If you look at the model, you can understand why. This thing did not skip leg day. It's got big old legs. So it can just leap over stuff. So if you've got that horrible little target snuggled away at the back of a building that you just can't quite reach without going around, no problem. Leaper Killer. Go straight over that thing. Go straight through those intervening models. Not a problem at all. That rule right there, by tying in a 5+ invul save, which is just the cherry on top in my opinion, is great. That thing is what's going to sell the Dimmacharon, because you'd be able to jump from cover, like large... Well, if you can get cover that obscures this guy, good luck. You can jump from position, a defensive position, or like a shrouded position, jump, attack an opponent, kill it, and then overrun with stratagem back to a safer position. This thing wants to be dashing around the board. It's just great. I love it. Death throws, we know what that does. When you kill it, it's got a chance of exploding. The thorax spine maw. Now this is very flavorful, I think. After this model has made a close combat attack, Before it consolidates, select one enemy model with engagement range, excluding aircraft. This model... Sorry, guys. Sorry about that, guys. A little bit of an interruption there. Yeah, Thorax Spine Maw. After this model has made close combat attacks, before it consolidates, select one enemy model with engagement range that's not aircraft. That model's player rolls a d6, adds their model strength characteristic. If the result is equal to or less than this model strength characteristic, the Dimmacharon, that model suffers d6 mortal wounds. So basically this thing is like the chest cavity is opened up and it's trying to gobble up like a unit or a character like your Space Marine or your Guardsman. If that happens, d6 mortal wounds, which is nice. So it's probably going to kill, it is going to kill a Guardsman and it probably will kill a Space Marine. Then it triggers the Digestion Spine. So it's pulled the unlucky bastard into his chest cavity, snapshot, nom nom nom. Digestion Spine. If an enemy model was destroyed as the result of this model's Thorax Spine Maw ability, at the end of the turn, the model gains the following ability until the end of the battle. Regenerative Physiology. Each time this model would lose a wound, roll a d6 on a 5+, that wound is not lost. So, not only have you got the increased wounds characteristic, the 5+ invul save, if you manage to snap and nom some poor unlucky bastard, then you're going to get yourself a 5-up feel no pain. It may not be the best rules in the world, but it's so fluffy. It's so good. I love it. I love how fluffy these rules feel. And like I said, for the meta perspective, I'm not sure. It may be crap, it may be great, but it feels fluffy as fuck, and I love that. I mean, if you were going so way inclined, you can use the Blood of Baal, Psychic Awakening, and evolve this guy so you can increase his Strength, AP, and damage characteristics. So he's Strength 8, Strength 9 with his Sickle Talons, AP -4, flat, well, it would be 4, minimum 5 to 6 damage. So you could do that. I mean, the Tyranids, no Tyranid model or unit exists in a bubble. You've got to interact. Very few Tyranid models stand out on their own as just great. You kind of got to interact with the rest of the High Fleet, which is ideally the way it should be played. But Dimmacharon, for me, this guy he's done justice now. His rules feel fluffy, they feel good, and he's good. I think he's good. So the Dimmacharon gets 8 High Fleets out of a galaxy for me. Very good. Stonecrusher Carnifex. For 6 power, 1 time Stonecrusher Carnifex, because now they're only in broods of 1, will get you 105 points, 115 points if you equip them with the 2 big crushing claws. But Stonecrusher Carnifex. The Carnifex chassis is like the Swiss Army knife of the Tyranid Codex. You can build your Carnifex to do whatever job you want. It probably won't be the best at that job, but it can do the job to a serviceable standard. Well, like the, jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing. And the Stonecrusher Carnifex is the Carnifex that hates monsters and vehicles. Obviously, you've got your Screamer Killer, which is close combat and hates infantry, and you've got your Thornback, which is again an infantry killer but with guns, and you can mod Carnifexes to do different jobs. This Carnifex is home-brewed by your local High Fleet to kill vehicles and monsters. And it looks like it's going to be pretty good at it. So, you just get 1, and it's not a character, so it's probably, if your opponent knows what it can do, and it's not hard to kill a Carnifex, is it? So that's going against it. But, movement 7, so standard. Weapon skill 4 plus skill 4, again, standard for a Carnifex. Strength, toughness 7, wounds 8. It's a Carnifex profile, guys. I don't need to explain that anymore. This is weird, though, because on the Forge World website, you can buy a Stonecrusher Carnifex with either the 2 crushing claws, the 2 big, humongous claws it's got. Basically, a Carnifex has normally got 4 arms, but if you get the crushing claws, it, melts both pairs of arms into, 1 gigantic crushing claw each, which is cool. But it says here, a Stonecrusher Carnifex is equipped with 2 bioflails, which is weird because the only other option for a Carnifex, a Stonecrusher Carnifex, is just the bioflail and the Crushing Claw combo, which looks good. And when you think about equipping a Stonecrusher Carnifex with 2 bioflails, it looks fucking stupid. So I think that there is a bit of an oversight on Forge World or Games Workshop, whoever wrote this book, sort of, they've oversight there. It should be a Stonecrusher Carnifex is equipped with 1 bioflail and 1 Crushing Claw. So that's what it should be equipped with. And that's what I'm going to count as being equipped with going forward. But yeah, if you've got the bioflail, which is good in itself, So obviously strength +1, so it means strength 8. -1 AP, 2 damage, make 2 hit rolls for each attack made with this weapon. So it doubles your attacks, gives you 8 attacks basically. Just you're running in there and you're just whirling this bioflail, just like smashing dudes with it. Strength 1, so this is going to be your infantry killer. The bioflail used to be really good. I think you used to get 2 attacks for it per model and base contact with Stonecrusher Carnifex, so it used to absolutely brutalize things, but then obviously the FAQ'd that. But as it stands, this thing it's decent for killing Space Marines, the new Super Uber Space Marines with 2 wounds. So strength 1, +1. On the charge, because you're going to get +1 because you're Carnifex, you're going to be hitting on 3s, wounding on 2s. The Space Marine's going to get a 4-up save, but if he fails it, he's flat dead. So, it's okay. It's okay. It's not really... The Bioflail is not really what it used to be, and it's not... Unless you're a collector like me, because I do hope to get the Bioflail, because apart from the rule set, it looks cool. The picture on the Forge World website does it real good justice, where the guy just looks like he's dragging the flail forward, like he's about to swing and crush someone with it. It is cool, but that's not what the Stonecrusher wants to do. The Stonecrusher wants to crush stones. All vehicles or monsters. So the profile is second weapon, the Wrecker Claws. Strength ×2, so that's rocking at strength 14. -3 AP, which is standard for your big monsters, creatures, weapons. Flat damage 3, again, standard for your big monsters. If the bearer is equipped with 2 Wrecker Claws, each time an attack is made with this weapon, you can re-roll the hit roll. So now, on a charge, you're hitting on 3s, re-rolling the hits. Great. You've only got 4 attacks, but that's great. You're helping to get more attacks through. Each time an attack made with this weapon is allocated to a vehicle or a monster, that attack has a damage characteristic of 5. Wow. Wow. That 5's a bit of an odd number. I mean, why not 6 or why not 4? But yeah, I'll take 5. 5's great. So you charge into your... Let's say you charge into, your Lehman Russ, and this thing will tear a Lehman Russ in 2. No problem at all. That, compared, that built in with the fact it's got its Carapace Chitin Rams, which basically is your living battering ram, ++ for attacking vehicles and monsters. So basically, your normal living battering ram is a 4+, a model suffers D3 more wounds. But if you do this to a vehicle or a monster on a 4+, it does D6 mortal wounds. So you've got more chances of mortal wounds if you're attacking a vehicle or a monster. The Stonecrusher Carnifex, I love the Carnifex chassis. I think it's an iconic mainstay of any Tyranid force. I would take the Stonecrusher Carnifex because it is scary to monsters and vehicles. A Carnifex is scary to most things anyway, because it can do quite a lot of damage if left to its own devices. But this thing, if it makes contact with a vehicle or a monster, it's got a good chance of doing a lot of damage. And again, you could evolve it to give it the monstrous size, so it's strength. So it'd be strength 15, because you do your additions after your multiplications. Flat damage 6, -4 AP, which is really fucking good. Yeah. But apart from the oversight and obviously the weapon listing there, I like the Stonecrusher Carnifex again. Feels fluffy, feels right for 6 power. Just over 100 points. Right now, we're going from the lightweights to the middleweights of the Forge World Tyranid stuff. The Heriduals, the Barbed and the Scythe Heridual. Both been downgraded, so they're no longer Lords of War. So now they're heavy supports, along with the same with Stonecrusher Carnifex, which is good because you're not having to pay the command points to bring that Lord of War. But it's bad because now you're in your heavy support slot. And the heavy support slot on the Tyranid Codex is... It's a fought after slot. You're talking the same thing as next grind here. So, especially for the Barbed Heridual. For the Barbed Heridual, I want you to always remember and affix this in your mind after I finish the sentence. The Barbed Heridual has this, but is it as good as next screen? But is it as good as next screen? So, yeah. Barbed Heridual. We'll do it first. 14 power. So this thing's clocking in at 275 points. So he's expensive. So that's not great. Barbed Heridual. Movement 8. Weapon skill 3. Ballistic skill 3. So he's got a good ballistic skill for a Tyranid. 3+ ballistic skill. That's great. Strength 8. The Barbed Herald's a shooty gun beast, so you know he can hold his own in combat, but he's not great at it. Toughness 8. That's going to hold him in good stead. Being Toughness 8 is great in most cases. 18 wounds. Again, you're probably paying that points premium for the more wounds. Equipped with 2 biocannons. So a biocannon is 48-inch range, so he's got the range. Heavy 6, so he's got 12 shots with the biocannon. Strength 8, good. AP -2, 2 damage. Yeah, but is it as good as an X-Screen? Shut up, phone. Yeah, but is it as good as an X-Screen? X-Screen's got the less range, but it's got the same amount of shots, but it's got the better AP. I'm not too sure. The X-Screen, for me, it just seems like the X-Screen is cheaper and it does this thing's job better. I mean, you can give it the living ammunition, the thing that gives it the +1 to damage, so you can make that flat damage 3, which is nice. But the AP is still 2. Strength 8, I don't know. Perhaps it's just me, because I never was in love with the Barbed Herald's model. Like, the Side Herald's, I love that thing. The model looks great, especially with the acid sort of symbiote on the back. It looks great, but we'll go into that in a bit. But yeah, he's got no special rules. It's got his death throws, which obviously explodes. It may explode when it dies, but I mean, we could talk about the Scything Talons, but Strength 10, because it's +2, -3 AP, D3 +3 damage. Reroll hit rolls of 1, so it's going to be 4 to 6 damage. That's fine. So if you're looking for like an X-Screen that's not as good as an X-Screen, but better than X-Screen in close combat, you can't go far wrong with the Barbed Herald. I suppose the good thing with the Barbed Herald is, even if you're moving it around, it's still going to have a ballistic skill of 3, unless you drop it down to its second tier, which is obviously 5 to 9 wounds. So it's got that in its favour. I mean, you could evolve it to give it a 5+ invul save, you could do that. Like I say, there's loads of little things you can do from the Tyranid Codex to make these things better that I'm probably not thinking of. You can tie it with some certain high fleets, because I'm always cracking, so that's probably why I'm looking at this in a negative light. I just think the X-Screen, I don't know. I don't know why I'm just favouring the X-Screen over this. Probably because it's cheaper, and I'm not hugely in love with the model. The Barbed Herald, not the X-Screen. The X-Screen I do quite like. The Side Herald, right, heavy support, cheaper. Side Herald wants to be in close combat, and that's where it's good. So movement 12, so it can move. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3, great. Same profile as the Side Herald from now on, except Barbed Herald, sorry, except it's got more attacks. 6 attacks. It's downgraded since its last iteration. I think its last iteration had like 7 or 8. I'm not sure, but it's got 6 attacks. Its weapon, Bioacid Spray. 18 inches, heavy 3d6, strength 6, -2, damage 1. Each time an attack move with this weapon automatically hits its target. So, again, you can evolve that to give it a flat 2 damage with the living ammunition or the stratagem. I'm not sure which one it is now. But being a monster, if my rules are being remembered correctly, he can fire this in close combat, which is good for your anti-infantry. Your anti-light infantry, because with damage 1, unless you give it that stratagem, you're not really going to be able to target space for this. And you've still got that kind of swing with the heavy 3d6. It could be 3, it could be 18, it could be anything in between. So, meh, that's okay, I suppose. I mean, I like it from a fluffy narrative point of view, because obviously this thing's running in there, it wants to close the distance, get in close combat, just coat everything it's attacking with acid, which is cool, but in a gameplay sort of, looking at it from like a more competitive standpoint, it's a bit swingy. And the massive Scything Talon, so it's got 2 sets. Yeah, strength +2, -3, D3 +3, reroll hit rolls of 1. It's got the weight of attacks, but it's hitting on 3s. So, on average, you're going to get 4 hits off the chart, 4 hits on the charge, maybe with a reroll, might get a 5th one. And it can do the damage against your heavily armoured vehicles, your toughness 8 stuff, like a knight. So against a knight, it's hitting on 3s, so you're probably going to get 4 or 5 hits, and you're going to be wounding on 3s. The knight's going to get, might get a save. I'm not too sure what a knight save is. Yeah, I think a knight will get a 6-up save or an invul save off this. So there's that, and then you're going to be doing... I don't think you'll kill a knight. You won't kill a knight on charge. No. Not unless you dump a load of like command points to get it to reroll wounds, hits, get it to fight twice, that kind of thing. You're not going to kill the knight on the charge. But, that being said, if you aim your sights slightly lower, because Tyranids, we all work together. If you go for like your lighter armoured vehicles, your infantry, your lighter targets, and this thing could potentially do quite well. And I think for, what is it? Side level 235 points. I think, given the right combination, the right high fleet, the right stratagems, I think this thing could do the business. And it's a great model anyway. So yeah, I mean, if I had one, I'd include it in my heavy support slot. But that means between the Swarm Lord, the Dimmicaron, and this, I'm already rocking in like 700-800 points. So yeah, it's expensive, but I think it could do the business if used right. Okay, now we're moving on to the big boys and girls, the Harridan and the Hierophant Biotitan. I want to prefix what I'm about to say with, if you're bringing a Harridan or a Hierophant Biotitan to a game of 40k, then narratively speaking, the shit is about to hit the fan. These things don't fuck around, but they're Lords of War, and they're like the Biotitans. So you've got to anticipate your opponent's going to have the similar kind of thing. There's going to be blood. There's going to be violence. And I think that's great. Because these things both look great. They are amazing models. And I'll never take that away from them. But they are unwieldy, to put it lightly. Particularly the Hierophant. But I'll cover that in a bit. Right, the Harridan. 35 power. Clocking in at a lovely... 700 points. Above 700 points will get you 35 power, a 20 to 45 inch move, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3, strength 8, toughness 8, wounds 34, attacks 5, leadership 9, 3+ save. Okay, so Harridan is equipped with 2 dire biocannons and our gargantuan scything talons. So gargantuan scything talons are basically make this thing strength 10, -3 AP, which is standard, straight 6 damage, which is what you want, and rerolling wounds. Fair enough. For a flyer, anyway, that's pretty decent. Dire Biocannon. 48 inch range, so you got 2 of these, so that's heavy 8, so 16 shots. Strength 10, -3 AP, flat 3 damage. Again, weight of shots, very, very nice. Frenzy Metabolism, both the Harridan and the Hierophant share this ability. Basically, to give yourself 1 to the attack, to the wound roll of your shots, I think. You give yourself D3 more wounds. You take D3 more wounds, and you can add 1 to your wound rolls, which is nice. Airborne. Basically, this says you can't charge anything that's not flying. You can't be charged that is flying, that kind of thing. I'll read it out. You cannot declare a charge with this model, and it can only be chosen as a target of charge if the unit making the charge can fly. You can only fight with this model if it's within the engagement range of any units that can fly. This model can only make melee attacks against models that can fly. So basically, you're kind of like locked in the air there. Hover. In your command phase, this model can hover. If it does, until the start of your next command phase, its move characteristic becomes 20, and it loses the airborne, hard to hit, and supersonic abilities. Right, so you can choose to go between airborne and hover. So that's nice. So, yeah. So if you hover, then you can interact with things on the ground level. Whereas if you stick with airborne, then you're stuck up in the skies. Titanic, obviously. Death throws, might explode when it dies. Supersonic, each time this model makes a normal move, advances or falls back. First, pivot it on the spot up to 90 degrees. This does not contribute to how far the model moves. Then move the model straight forwards. It cannot pivot again after initial pivot. So basically, you're maneuvering this thing by pivoting it, then moving it, pivoting it, then moving it. Same with most supersonic flyers. Hard to hit, which is good. It just gets the subtract 1 from the attacker's hit roll. There you go. Harridan. I don't own one. I'd love to own one. Oh yeah, it can carry 20 gargoyles around, which is nice. So that's fine as a vector to get gargoyles into position, but gargoyles can deep strike anyway. Honestly, I don't know, guys. It seems good, but then again, in the context of you're probably going to be playing Apocalypse games if you're using this thing. I mean, you're probably not going to be playing regular games for 40k. Does it stand up to other Apocalypse units? I don't know. It's a lovely looking model though. Right, the crown jewel, probably in anyone's Tyranid collection. The Hierophant Bio Titan. This thing is... It's gorgeous. It's really... Me, Chris, and Jamie did a video a while ago of like top modern Forge World models. And I think I put this one... I don't know which list I put this in. But it's held up well. But this thing is a fucking nightmare to build. It's a nightmare to build. It looks like it can't support its own weight. Basing it is a fucking chore. It's a labour of love. If for anyone getting a Hierophant, you've got to really commit to it. But I cannot take anything away from the fact that it looks absolutely fantastic. It's an old model that has stood the test of time really well. Right, Hierophant, 43 power. So you're knocking in at 850 points. So it's cheaper than it was. Movement 10. But this, bear in mind, guys, this thing's got a fucking humongous footprint. So you're going to be taking up a lot of the board anyway. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 3. Strength 8, toughness 8. Which is a shame. I would have thought this thing would have been tougher. Attack 6. 2 plus save. So yeah, obviously, it's a fucking Bio Titan. It's got Bioplasma Torrent, 2 Dire Biocans, Lash Whip Pods, Gargantuan Scything Talons. Bioplasma Torrent, range 12, assault 2d6. It's a flame, it automatically hits the target. Pretty much, I think it's the same as this side Terrajewel. No, it's got 1 more strength and 1 more AP. Strength 7 minus 3 AP, but still 1 damage. So, again, anti-infantry. 2 Dire Biocans, so again, 16, because both of them are heavy 8. With your flat 3 damage, very nice. Gargantuan Scything Talons. This thing makes it strength 10, same as the Harridan. Lash Whip Pods. Strength 5, AP minus 1, damage 1. Each time the bearer fights, it makes 10 additional attacks with this weapon. And no more than 10 attacks can be made with this weapon. Right, okay, so it's got 6 attacks. And then it's got 10 additional attacks with this thing. But I'm guessing this thing is basically just to thin out the hordes that are trying to gather underneath it. So if you position this thing on top of like a squad of boys or a squad of space marines or a squad of guardsmen, which you can do because this thing is fucking huge, these things just lash out underneath it and start shredding guys underneath, which is very nice, very thematic. I like. The frenzy metabolism, same as the Harridan. Give yourself more wounds to increase your 2 wound chance on ranged attacks. Death throws, it might explode or big explosion. Hypertoxic poison cloud. At the end of the fight phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy model in engagement range with this model. On a 5+ unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Unit. Oh, enemy model. Wait. Oh, wait. Okay. Roll 1d6 for each enemy model with engagement range of this model. And a 5+, that model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Right, okay. So every model that's within the engagement range of this thing on a 5+ suffers 1 mortal wound. So this thing is deadly to things hanging around it, which you'd expect because it's a fucking Bio-Titan at the end of the day. Titanic, you know what Titanic does. And the Bio-Titan Warfield gives it a 5+ invul save. Thank you very much. And it's transport. This model has a transport capacity of 20 high fleet infantry models. Each model with a wounds caster greater than 1 takes up a space of 2 models. So you could put a Broodlord in there. You could put Tyranid Warriors in there. You could put Raveners in there. 20 Gene Stealers. Or... What would this thing be susceptible to? I mean, this thing could just be a vehicle for just delivering Griblies up the table. A very expensive fucking delivery vehicle at 850 points. But you know what? For 850 points, I think this guy's bringing a lot of bang for his buck. Particularly in his close combat sort of anti-infantry sort of capability. I mean, he's got the guns to go to, you know, to ping out at most heavily armored vehicles, and he can hurt your knights. But I think with everything considered, this thing does pack a lot of bang for buck. It's got a little designer's note at the bottom. I'm just going to read this out because if this model does not have a base, which it won't do, before deploying this model, both players must agree on the footprint of this model's base, in the same way they would for an area terrain feature. We suggest that an imaginary straight line should be drawn from each point of this model which would touch the battlefield when it is placed on a flat surface. The area within these lines should be considered to be its model's base. If the model has been positioned with 1 or more legs raised, agree with your opponent to the point where the leg would touch the battlefield and use this to advise the shape of the model's base. Basically, that's basically them just saying, listen guys, this thing is fucking humongous. You got to decide where the base is between yourselves. It's great. Like I say, guys, that the Harridan Titan is, in my opinion, the end game of most Tyranid collections. You get one of them, and that's just it. There's like mwah, the gigantic, spiky cherry on top of your Tyranid collection, which is just, it's fantastic. Again, a lot of bang for this book. I like those rules. I think they're quite fluffy. So yeah, that's all the Tyranid rules. So winners and losers. I think the winners are Stonecrusher Carnifex Dimmicaron, Harridan Biotitan, and Sire Terrajewel. I don't think there are any losers. I think the things that are the winners have just been done well in the narrative fluffy sense, which I like, and the things that just haven't reached there just don't fit my particular sort of way of playing, which is try to be rules wise, but if you can make the good narrative stuff happen, that's fantastic. Let's do that as well. So yeah, that's the Tyranid section of the Imperial Armor Compendium. I hope this was enlightening to you guys. For anyone who's out there who's thinking about getting Forge World models, I'd say if you're a Tyranid player, if you're a beginning Tyranid player, I'd say get a Melanthrope. If you're a mid-tier Tyranid player, get yourself a Dimmicaron or Sire Terrajewel. And obviously, if you're the end game Tyranid player, then you've got to look for the big boys and girls. You've got to look for the Harridan or the Harridan Biotitan. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the video down in the comment section below, guys. I'm interested to hear what you guys think of, obviously, how Tyranids have come across, the Forge World Tyranids have come across in the latest edition, and how they may be interacting with the Hive fleets going forward. But yeah, stay safe, guys, and I will catch you all next time. See you later.